when I was pregnant with my second child, I would have insanely vivid dreams. Usually just random things, but one night I dreamed about what I'd come to know as the Hat Man. I'll give a little background for context in the dream. My friend Anna recently moved to a different home, and her friend Charlotte moved into the old one. Me and Charlotte were only acquaintances, but since Anna had lived in the home, I was very familiar with it. In my dream, I was walking up to the house with my husband and my oldest daughter. I was coming to babysit for Charlotte. It was super foggy and dark with no other houses around it, nothing but a man sitting outside of the fence. He had his back turned to us, just staring at the house as he sat in a wheelchair. The feeling I had was extremely uneasy, and something about the man was just off. As we approached, I got the sense that this man wanted to get into the house but couldn't. He appeared to be middle-aged. Nothing stood out besides the wheelchair and his hat. It was a hat you'd see in a show like Peaky Blinders. The closer I got, the more I somehow knew that this was not a good person. In fact, he was not a person at all, but something pretending to be one. And the wheelchair was only a guise for him to seem like he was not of any threat. Don't ask me how I knew all this. It's just dream logic, I guess. I said to my husband as we came up beside him, almost passing the entrance to the gate, "Don't look at him, don't talk to him." For whatever reason, I looked at his face then, and he started to change. I can't really describe what he became, but as it grew and morphed, I could sense his anger fuming as he became this distorted, towering thing. We quickly rushed past him and into the house. He had disappeared. When I got into the house, nothing was right. It was abandoned and dilapidated, save for a worn kitchen table with 3 little girls, all in the same onesie. I could see 2 were twins and 1 slightly older. Now Charlotte only has 1 son and a toddler girl, and I have never babysat for her or met her children. I told Anna about the dream a few days later. I always tell people my dreams. I think they're entertaining and weird, and I'm sure anyone who has the misfortune of hearing about them probably just thinks the latter. She agreed it was a weird dream and said Charlotte had been talking about her son complaining of a ghost or something in his closet at night scaring him. She told Charlotte about my dream, and shortly after she reached out to me privately, and what she said sent shivers down my spine. Before her daughter was born, she had a miscarriage, twins, and her son had been intermittently telling her about some ghost that came out of his closet at night with a weird hat on. She also said she had been extremely depressed and feeling very off lately. Charlotte asked if I'd ever heard of the Hat Man, but I never had. And just as well, the hat in my dream wasn't the same type as the one her son described when he talked about the thing that was in his room at night. I told her all the details in my dream, and we ended our convo, agreeing it was very strange. I didn't talk to her again after that. Honestly, I'd forgotten about all of it since I was so busy with a toddler and would be giving birth soon. My pregnancy was hard and postpartum was harder. I immediately had severe PPD, and honestly, my brain went to some scary places during that time. And I don't want to get into that part much, but I'm really lucky to still be here now writing this. One day, a few months after I had my second daughter, I laid down on the couch to sleep while the baby sleeps. I was in some weird half-dream, half-awake state when I heard and felt someone come to the edge of the couch, standing behind where my head was. I got the feeling it was a man, and he was frightened. Just as fast as he appeared, he disappeared, and something was left standing behind him. The sense of dread I felt through my entire body was so intense. I felt heat burning through my body just before I jerked awake. As I opened my eyes, jolted upright and turning to face what was behind me, I caught a strange glimpse. It was something like a fleeting shadow, just a black outline / shadow type thing. A tall man wearing a wide-brimmed hat. Then in a blink, he vanished. What the hell did I just see? What the hell just happened? I don't even know why I said anything. It just came out of me. Why? And in a quiet, retreating voice that was not my own, but unmistakably a man's, I hear because you invited me in. After the initial shock and questioning my sanity, I realized that whatever that thing was, it was the very same energy I had felt from the man in a wheelchair in my dream months before. I Googled the description of what I saw and scrolled through images. There it was. The dark silhouette wearing the same hat with the caption, "The Hat Man." I'm a Marine, and at the time this occurred, I was 2 days out from ending my tour. Intel told us that a band of insurgents were holed up inside of a series of caves in Ad-Dar. We split up and searched 2 deep caverns in groups of 3. Every corner turned came with it an unparalleled feeling of anxiety and dread, thinking that any second one of us would step on an IED and end up blown to bits or trapped in rubble forever. Once we hit the 200-yard mark, my team lead got a call on his walkie-talkie that a man and woman bearing rifles were apprehended. It turned out that they weren't the insurgents we were after. They were found deep within the cave with guns and an old cuneiform stone tablet seated around a small fire. They were detained and sent back to base in an armored vehicle, while I kept the tablet in my possession. Just before leaving the cave, our hearts nearly stopped when a blood-curdling screech emanated from deeper inside. It sounded like some sort of animal, and we didn't want to explore further. The front of the tablet was a transcription that I couldn't figure out. The flip side was a drawing. A snake head with horns, reptilian eyes, and serpent's tongue. Despite it being old and worn, the drawing was actually quite unnerving. I kept it with me as a souvenir. Before the couple were loaded into the truck, the woman looked at me and said, "You'd be wise to leave it behind." The following several nights, I had a barrage of horrific dreams where I brutally murdered my wife and daughter, and upon waking, I'd hear a voice damning me to hell. I brushed it off as stress, though oddly, my sense of smell was unusually strong. I could smell flowers 50 yards away. The dreams persisted after I got home. I showed my wife the tablet, and she kept it as a souvenir. She placed it in a small shelf we had on the wall. Not 2 days after getting back, I'd wake up in the middle of the night from those terrible dreams, only to find my wife out of bed. I'd discover her wandering aimlessly through the house, mumbling to herself and disoriented like a somnambulant. This went on for 2 weeks, and then one night, it broke loose. When I got out of the shower on this particular night, I walked into the bedroom to see my wife sitting on the edge of the bed, just staring at the tablet on the wall in a trance-like state. I spoke to her repeatedly, but was unable to get her to respond. She was just staring. I looked at her eyes, and sure enough, they were fixated on that tablet. So I lightly grasped her chin and turned her head toward me. I shouldn't have done that. She gazed into my eyes with big, dilated pupils, rendering her irises fully black. She was gritting her teeth in a sort of angry, demonic scowl. I've never seen a look of true hatred until that moment. I could feel it penetrating my soul. Then something magical and evil in equal measure occurred. She started whispering at me, stammering what sounded like gibberish, or more frighteningly, speaking in tongues. In this moment, her voice sounded like a man's, and the room began to fill up with a pungent, repugnant stench, which was indescribable. like rotting garbage inside of a dumpster, and the look in my wife's unblinking eyes sent chills down my spine and had all of my hairs standing at attention. I felt so vulnerable at the moment and subconsciously knew we'd been invaded by an evil force. She looked like she wanted to harm me. It was palpable. I could think of nothing else but to grab her by the hand, close my eyes, and pray the rosary over and over. Her palms were cold as ice and clutched so stiff that I'd not have been able to pry them open with a vice grip. As seconds passed, I finally heard Adam, spoken in that sweet, feminine voice I'd become accustomed to all these years. Adam? What just happened? Oh, baby, are you okay? Tell me what's wrong? She replied with, I don't know. I got out of the tub and came in here, and I don't remember anything in between then and you coming in here. Was I talking? No, baby, you were just staring. Adam, please get rid of that tablet. Why, babe? I asked. Her response made my blood run cold. Because ever since you brought it home, I've been getting the feeling that I want to kill you and Lacey. Something evil is in our house. I grabbed it immediately and tossed it outside in the trash. The next day, I threw it in the river. Ever since that day, things have gone back to normal. I don't know what exactly happened to her that night, but she later claimed to have seen shadows moving around the house just after I got home, both day and night. One day, she said she saw a black, shadowy mass hovering in the center of the living room, and she said, I could feel it watching me, and worse, I felt that it hated me. I think something was inside of her that night, and I believe that had I kept that tablet, she might have went through with one of her feelings